Shalom. Giving all praises to Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai, and double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone. And may Yahweh by Shema Shai's peace be bestowed unto you, hopefully elect. I'm your brother Yahweh from Great Millstone, Orlando, and I'm just back with another segment off of this interview here from Real Life Productions. Going into this podcast of these two individuals, and of course I want to start off by saying, fair use, copyright disclaimer. I am not making any type of monetary gain off of this clip that I'm about to play here, off of this podcast interview. This is just for informational purposes, educational purposes. Again, I ain't getting any type of money off this clip, but with that being said, again, watching certain of these interviews, there's always a sense of spirituality when it comes to everything. It's just a matter of being in tune with the spirit to be able to catch it. So watching this interview, because this dude on the left, big homie CC, he's been getting a lot of attention lately, especially with this whole P. Diddy lawsuit going on. I believe this individual was at one point associated, because both these guys, they're bodyguards, and they do a lot of bodyguard work for a lot of celebrities and things of that nature. So they see certain things, they bring a lot of information to the light. So that's why they've been getting a lot of light lately, attention lately, so with that being said, being in that type of environment, you see a lot of things, so with that being said, actually, I do believe it's this particular interview, they were going into how because you see the title, dealing with the priests and the demons and how they're real. Like I said, being opened up to a certain realm of things, you're going to see things, and, they touched on dealing with, I think it was a priest that performs exorcism, and other times, when these bodyguards and they travel with these priests to perform these exorcisms, they see things, they're opened up to an extent. But overall, long story short, like I said, they see things, being in that world, the Hollywood and things of that nature, Hollyweird, which that word weird goes back to basically sorcery and witchcraft, there's a lot of spiritual gems watching these. I just did a video based off of a testimony, Jake, Northern Kingdom, Issachar, ex-hitman, been watching a lot of these podcasts, these interviews, and like I said, there's a lot of spiritual intake to take, so getting into it, man, this clip or segment of this podcast, because I did a video about Jake, man. Well, actually, that was the last video dealing with the Jake, the ex-hitman. Jake is inquiring, because as the Lord's people and having that zeal, that there is a lot of things that come natural to us, being the Israelites, Such as, for an example, it's just in Jake's spirit not to eat raw meat. That's just in Jake's spirit. There's a lot of things it's just in our spirit. It's just in our nature. We just know. So basically, with that being said, play this clip, and again, I'm not making any type of monetary gain. Fair use. All right, copyright disclaimer. All right, but there's a sense of when it comes to so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, there is a sense of unity to an extent. There's a sense of being nation-minded when it comes to our people. That's one of those things that comes natural to us. So just playing a part of this segment of this podcast, they were touching on these things. Now, like I said before, Jigga asked certain of these questions. They inquire. Being that, again, we are a spiritual people, and again, Jake has a certain zeal, but of course it's not according to Yahweh Shemal Shai, because as I'm going to play, Jake is talking about going back to Africa and, that whole ordeal, So without further ado, I'm going to play segment of this podcast. I'm gonna be interjecting with precepts. So without further ado,
bro, why do you think, like, when you see like another black man, we instantly feel some type of way?
And I respect you for this question, bro. You a real. Oh my
I fuck with real, bro.
I'm thorough as hell for this, because I definitely would appreciate answering this. Because I don't really like that shit, gang.
Right? Yeah, because I was thinking about that. I was like, bro, I was talking to Angel. I was like, bro, I don't like that.
You feel?
I hate that we feel like that.
Yeah, that shit's stupid. That shit I was doing when I was kids. Oh, he looking at me. Nigga got eyes, man.
Right.
You hear me? My OG, I say, OG, man. Motherfuckers be looking at me. She say, well, nigga, they do got eyes. You feel me? Like, calm down, gang. That's one of your brothers.
Exactly.
You feel me? Like, come on, man. That shit, weak, man, bro. I don't really like that shit, But I ain't gonna lie, business is business.
Right.
So if your ass get on this menu, I don't give a fuck what color you is.
Right.
To add context to what you asked, I'm somebody who, I'm a world traveler, man. Right. I own property in a country in Nairobi, Kenya.
Right.
When you go to Africa, you go to Nairobi, it's not like that. Everybody's black. There are no white police. There are no black people running everything there. Here in America, there's a limited amount of resources that we all must compete for. So here, we're a lot more standoffish to each other because we don't know our history. So we got our DNA test in our family. It says that we are Yoruba Igbo from Nigeria. So everything with human beings based back down to your roots and your tribal origins. So here in this country, after the slave trade, Jim Crow, there were a lot of literature and propaganda that were inserted into our community to cause diversion. And that's why here, a lot of times, we treat each other as enemies. But when I'm in Africa, it's not that at all. At all. You feel me? Like.
So you would say that we all need to go home?
I feel like every black man,
That's a fact.
every black woman
Should change the whole understanding.
should definitely go to the continent.
But the shit that's going on right here, no, shit
and really see what it's like to be around your own people. Because when you go over there, wherever tribe you from, you show up to that village, you will need for nothing. You can show to anybody's house in that village, and they're going to give you everything you ask for, you need. Here, it's not like that.
So it's like, say, like, you don't know your place, you don't know where you belong. You know what I'm saying?
It's a lot of,
You can get your DNA test and tell you.
Right.
Your DNA test will tell you exactly where you're from.
Right.
For sure.
But if we was just to stick together, bro, we'll be unstoppable.
But that's not possible here in America.
so you see, man, a lot to pick, because like I said before, man, that's that inquiring spirit, Why is it thus? Why are things thus? Why is it that when it comes to so-called blacks against blacks, Jake has an evil eye towards one another, but the minute a so-called white man walks down the street, Jake, they put their head down, they yes sir, they getting that yes master spirit. Why is that? Because for one, that seed that's been planted by Esau, to keep us divided. Because like Jake is going into, the nation of Israel coming together, which we're in that process now. Jake waking up, the tribes coming together. I'm gonna grab that in Amos. And as I said before, it makes sense. That void that Jake is looking to get filled, all those questions, man. It all comes together when we wake up to this truth, and we get into the scriptures. But as far as the tribes being against one another, well, Amos 9 and 11, and then it mentions the restoration of Israel. All right, and again, we are currently in that process of Israel being restored, coming back together. All right, that breath has been put upon the dead. Israelites walking around here in a dead state of mind. We're waking up. That's why these nations start with the elites of Esau, and they're trembling. You see, because real quick before I go there, I'm gonna go here. That nation not desired, talking about Israelites, because these other nations know. We get on Esau's ass, but these nations, they've all had a part to play, and that's why the Lord's gonna get their ass too. They're gonna have to get a foot in their ass too, because they all had a part to play in our downfall and keeping us down. Because these nations know, the tribes coming together, man. Hey, it's bad news for these other nations, man. These nations know that, and that's why they conspire against us. They come together with one consent to conspire against us, man, to keep us down. Psalm 83 and verse 1: Keep not thou silence, O Most High. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O Most High. Because the Lord sees everything that's going on. The Lord knows everything that's going on. And the Lord's been allowing this shit to slide for a long time. These nations, they touch the apple to the Lord's eye, the Lord's people. And the Lord, these nations, starting with Esau, Edom, they're not going to be able to just ride off in the sunset. Oh, so quietly, that's not the case. It says, for lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up their head. You see, because they're again, these nations, they've been able to slide for a long time. They've been able to capitalize off of Jake, capitalize off the Lord's people for a minute. They've been able to slide good off of Jake for a minute. You see, I like the scripture say, because sentence against an evil work is not executed speedily. Hey, these nations, they think they're just getting away with this shit, right? Little do these nations know, right? Real quick, I'm gonna go to this. These nations, they talk shit against the Lord's people, right? Like I just said, they make a tumult, right? The same way that Yahweh Shema Shai, he shamed us in front of all these nations. Way, like it tells you in Revelation, I do believe that's 19, going into the bride. Because, when it comes to marriage, according to this world, man, of course it's a joke. You got the bride knowing damn well she's not a virgin, knowing damn well she's polluted, being walked down the aisle by the Father for everyone to see and to lust, right? So again, marriage according to this world is a joke, but the marriage of the Lamb, you see, the Lord's going to, so to say, walk his bride down the aisle for all the nations to see. Because like I said, the same way the Lord shamed his people, we've been ashamed, a proverb and an astonishment to these other nations. On that same note, the Lord's going to glorify his people in front of all the nations. And he's going to let these nations know, these are my people. You see, so that's why Baruch 4 Baruch 4 and 33. For as she rejoiced at thy ruin and was glad at thy fall, so shall be. So like that's not it. Bear with me real quick. I do believe this is chapter. Yes, verse 24. Baruch 4 and 24. Like as now the neighbors of Sion have seen your captivity, so shall they see surely your salvation from our power, which shall come upon you with great glory and brightness of the everlasting. So you see, all these nations had a hand in our downfall, still profiting off of our downfall. But we're in the time now where the tribes are coming together, and that's bad news for these other nations. Going back to this here in Psalm 83. Psalm 83 and 2. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. So you see, man. All right, and of course, when you read on down, at the top of the list is Esau, as far as the Lord's enemies. All right. But all these nations have consulted together and keeping us in an ignorant state and separated from our power. Like I mentioned in Baruch, man, hey, our power. All right. But newsflash, hey, the gig is up. All right. These nations, they've had their time to rule. All right. Hell, Esau, he's had 3 opportunities, 3 empires to rule. You know, Eve has had her time to rule. Hell, even the children for that matter. Everyone's been able to have their time to play. It's our time. And these nations, they're about to get in order. Everyone is about to get in order under the Israelites. You know, and the Wadi al-Bashmal Shah, man, he knocked that shit out in first quarter. That way, when it's all said and done, no one can say that the Lord is unjust. No one can say that the Lord is not fair. Favor has been shown to everyone else. It's our time to play. All right. Which includes the nations being under subjection, which again, this is why they consult together, to keep us down. Back in Amos 9 and 11. And that day will I raise up the tabernacle of David that is fallen, and close up the breaches thereof, and will raise up his ruins, and I will build it as in the days of old. So the tribes coming back together, man. All right. You wonder why you have so-called black on black crime, right? Jake on Jake, you know. Northern Kingdom against Southern Kingdom, all this beef and strife. Well, Yahweh Bashim al-Shai, man, he's closing up those breaches, and this is why, again, the tribes are coming together. Southern Kingdom, Northern Kingdom and Southern Kingdom becoming one again. You see, because at one point here in Deuteronomy 28, it all falls back to the curses. All right, Deuteronomy 28. Deuteronomy 28 and 54. So that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, and that's how we were at one people, you know, considerate of one another, you know. At one point we had that brotherly love. You know, what comes to mind is Lot, when those 2 angels came to town, and Lot knowing how wicked it got after dark. You know, hey, Lot invited them in and you know, showing that hospitality. That's how we are as a nation of people. You know, that's a part of our customs, to show that hospitality, to show that brotherly love. And we see remnants of that with these other, you know, the tribes scattered amongst the other nations, You know, we see remnants of that. But like King Solomon said, hey, overall, man, this is not the kingdom, you know. Because overall, man, that's what we're fighting for. You know, the Commonwealth of Israel. We want to see all of our people good. That's why I always say, man, even when it comes to 2/3, it's not personal. We want to see all of our people good. So, I'm sorry, 1 King 4, one of my favorites. 1 King 4 and 21. And Solomon reigned over all kingdoms from the river unto the land of the Philistines and unto the border of Egypt. They brought presents and served Solomon all the days of his life. And Solomon's provision for one day was 30 measures of flour and 60 measures of meal. Slakia, verse 20, 1 Kings 4 and 20. Judah and Israel were many, as the sand which is by the sea, and the multitude, eating and drinking and making merry. So you see, because after the death of King Solomon, that's when the kingdom split. And ever since then, you just had this strife, this beef, you know. And, you know, it trickles down to what we see today. Bloods versus Crips versus GDs versus MS-13 versus, you know, Jake versus Jake versus Jake, man. Just Jake on Jake crime. You know, going back to that evil eye back in Deuteronomy 28. Because at one point, we had that hospitality. We had that brotherly love. Back in Deuteronomy 28. Deuteronomy 28 and 54. So that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eye shall be evil toward his brother, and toward the wife of his bosom, and toward the remnant of his children, which he shall lead. So you see, and this is what we see to this day. All right. But on that same note, hey, you know, the curses are being uplifted. And as I read in Amos 9, you know, the breaches are being closed up, man. The tribes coming back together. You know, the once scattered are being restored, man. You know, the restoration of Israel. All right, coming back together on one accord. Waking up in remembrance to who the enemy is. You know, because that was a part of our downfall. You know, we forgot who the enemy is. We forgot. You know. And again, you know, through the power of the left hand of Yahweh Shema Shai, Esau, man, he's, you know, planted certain seeds, bugs amongst Jake communities. And this is why, again, you know, we had that evil eye toward one another. You know, it's unfortunate to say, but I say this all the time. And I get it, you know. The Wadi Yahweh Shema Shai, I get it, I understand. Because, you know, hey, I'd rather leave my car running around some Edomites than my so-called own people. You know, sad to say, because Esau, hey, you know, you leave your car keys in the car running around Esau, hey, he'll take your shit to the car wash, get your shit cleaned out, bring it back to you in one piece, give you the keys and everything. You know, like, hey, buddy, you left your car running, buddy. You know, but you leave that shit around Jake, man. Hey, Jake will steal your shit and then look you dead in your eye, man. Hey, you know, damn, like, damn, dog, I don't know, bruh. Look you dead in your eye and lie. Like, damn, I don't know, bruh. That's crazy. You know? And that's why Esau has to pay, man. You know? He did this shit. He caused this strife through the power of the left hand. You know? Setting up certain of these bugs and these plants. That's why we often use the comparison of the field Negro against the house Negro. Esau set shit up like that strategically. So, you know, we see remnants of that as far as that nation mind, that nation minded. We see remnants of that amongst our people that are scattered amongst these different nations, you know. But on another note, Galatians 4:26, but Jerusalem which is above is free, which is the mother of us all. All right, because Africa is not where it's at. All right, Africa is not the so-called motherland. You know, Jake thinks that their history started in Africa, and even the Jake here said it, you know, you got to know your history, you know. And Jake is you know, studious, you know. Jake knows a thing or two, but again, it's that zeal is not according to knowledge. All right, Jake knows a thing or two, but it's not according to truth, the 100% truth. Because our origins don't start in Africa, man. All right. Oftentimes throughout the scriptures in our history, a lot of our people, our forefathers, they fled into Egypt to blend in with the Egyptians because, hey, just because we're all a dark race of people, it doesn't mean we're the same people. And to show you how cold the Lord is with it, you know, before Esau robbed everyone, everyone had some form of pigmentation. Everyone had some form of, you know, melanin in their skin. All the nations. You see? That's why the scriptures say that the Lord put a clear difference between the Israelites and the Egyptians. There's a clear difference. And I always make the point that, hey, those Egyptians, the real Africans or Hamites, all right, even they know the difference. And they don't claim you so-called Negroes as, you know, being the same people. Even they know. And I always make the point, even this Hamite Nelson Mandela, he acknowledged the fact that we are not the same people. So how about that? Nelson Mandela acknowledged the fact that we are not the same people. How about that? So again, our origins don't begin in Africa. All right. You say you know your history, but obviously you didn't dig deeper enough. You see? That's why I'm going to get this here. In Luke 21:20. And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. Going into the siege of Jerusalem, the siege of Jerusalem, 70 AD. Yahushua warned them, hey, when you see them armies coming, he said, don't fight, don't try to, because this is prophecy. Prophecy had to be fulfilled in order for us to go into Africa. All right, and this is more so dealing with the southern tribes. All right, the Jews, which consist of so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians. You know, the Northern Kingdom, they were already over here in the you know, Americas. All right, you know, so dealing with the transatlantic slave trade, prophecy had to be fulfilled for us to be, in order for us to be picked up from, you know, mainly the northern western coast of Africa. All right, you know, our people were, you know, scattered abroad, and you still have a lot of Israelites over there today, a lot of those Nigerians, and, you know, so on and so forth, you know. But when the Lord told us, when the Lord warned Jake that the you know, when you see those armies come, don't try to fight. Hey, get the hell out of Dodge. That's what he told him in verse 21. Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out, and let not them that are in the countries enter thereinto. So you see, the Lord told him to get the hell out of Dodge. Now some would say that Yahushua is a coward. You know, even though Yahushua, he was that sacrificial lamb, he offered up his life. You know, Yahushua didn't put up a fight. Yahushua would be considered a coward. You know, but regardless of how people feel, the Lord told Jake to get the hell out of Dodge and flee. And what mountains is this referring to? mainly the western and northern parts of Africa. All right. You see, so our history goes way past, our origin goes way past, our origins don't just start in Africa. All right, so as I read, Africa is not the motherland. All right, so I'm gonna play some more of this.
It's just not
Because
possible.
we're just divided. They make us divided.
It's
Everyone is
all
divided
black.
here.
We bit the bait. And that's that.
So you think there's no fixing it? Okay. Let's just use the presidential election.
Let's use that
for an example.
for sure.
Glorilla being at the Kamala Harris campaign, that is insanity.
That's wild. That's some shit that never happened.
I don't got no hitter. Ain't no hitter. Ain't got me at the election. Donald Trump had Harry O. Boss drug dealer. It's the only president we've seen in history to release black men from jail. Some of my close homies got released by this man. Everybody in this room, especially the men, we identify with being guys who generate income. 92% of black women voted for Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris said that she would not pass laws strictly for black people, but she did it for Asians.
And that's another thing, Kamala Harris, that demon, she's not even a Jake, I believe she's from Elam. I do believe she's Elam. But, it's all a part of the puppet show. Like I said, man, it's all a part of the infiltration. It's all a part of those seeds that get Esau plants to get Jake, Esau, he throws all type of things out there to keep Jake against one another, to keep Jake in a dumbed down, docile state. Esau, he'll throw those little breadcrumbs out there to keep Jake docile, man. Because these nations know Jake gets roused up, man. When Jake comes together, all right, hey. Matter of fact, I'm gonna go back to the Amos 9. Because why don't these fake and phony Christians, why don't they ever deal with the throne of David? Amos 9:11 again. In that day will I raise up the tabernacle of David that is fallen, and close up the breaches thereof. So the tribes are coming back together. All right. And I will raise up his ruins, and I will build it as in the days of old, that they may possess the remnant of Edom, and of all the heathen which are called by my name, saith Yahweh that doeth this. So you see, all right. Because again, why don't these fake and phony Christians deal with the throne of David? Because it entails that nations being in slavery, being in captivity, in servitude to the Israelites. And these nations, they know this, and this is why they all had a hand in our downfall. They all had a hand in our downfall. You see. Matter of fact, let's just read it on out. Verse 13. Behold, the day has come, saith the Lord, that the plowman shall overtake the reaper, and the treader of grapes, him that soweth seed in the mountains shall drop sweet wine, and all the hills shall melt, and I will bring again the captivity of my people Israel, and they shall build the waste cities and inhabit them. And we ain't gonna lift a finger. All right. The nations, they're gonna be, built on our kingdom, the same way we built theirs. Is that not fair? That's the real reparations that we want, man. The hell with some fiat currency. All right. We want dominion, rulership. Again, a part of coming back into the remembrance of who we are, the legacy that we come from, is that ruling class mentality. All right. We want Esau and these other nations. We want the next. That's the true reparations we want. Is that not fair? Do not the scripture say it is a righteous thing to seek tribulation to those that trouble you? Is that not fair? We built all these ancient empires, all right, Jake made America what it is. Jake built this empire up. Jake built America up. Is it not fair to want retribution? Is it not fair to want justice? You know? Is that not fair? Because it's always a problem when Israelites want to, do the same thing that the nations did to us. But, just goes to show you the slave mentality that 2/3 that they got, man. So the nations, they're going to be building our kingdom up, and that's fair. As the scriptures say, reward her double. Right? So, roughly 500 years or so, more or less, we've been in captivity, in servitude to Esau. But hey, 1,000 years, Esau and the other nations, they're going to be building our kingdom up. And that's fair. Is that not fair? Hell, that goes back to the law. Let's see if I can find that real quick in Exodus. Bear with me. So Exodus 22 and Exodus 22:1. If a man shall steal an ox or a sheep or kill it or sell it, he shall restore 5 oxen for an ox and 4 sheep for a sheep. If a thief be found breaking up and be smitten that he died, there shall no blood be shed for him. It's lucky. I'm going to get to the point. Bear with me. So in Exodus 21, let me jump down. Exodus 21 in verse 16. And he that stealeth a man and selleth him, or if he be found in his hand, he shall surely be put to death. It's like that's not it. But again, did not all these nations have us in captivity? Right? Where's it at, man? It's on the tip of my tongue. It's on the tip of my tongue. Let me look for this real quick. To make the point about so yeah, back in Exodus 22, I'm gonna start at 1 again. Salakia. If a man shall steal an ox or sheep or kill it or sell it, he shall restore 5 oxen for an ox and 4 sheep for a sheep. If a thief be found breaking up and be smitten that he die, there shall no blood be shed for him. If the sun be risen upon him, there shall be blood shed for him. For he shall make full restitution. If he have nothing, then he shall be sold for his theft. If the theft be certainly found in his hand alive, whether it be ox or ass or sheep, he shall restore double. Let's read on. If a man shall cause a field or vineyard to be eaten, and shall put it in his beast, and shall feed in another man's field, or the best of his own field, and of the best of his own vineyard, shall he make restitution. If fire break out and catch in thorns, so that the stacks of corn or the standing corn or the field be consumed wherewith. He that kindleth the fire shall surely make restitution. If a man shall deliver unto his neighbor money or stuff to keep, and it be stolen out of the man's house, if the thief be found, let him pay double. Verse 8, if the thief be found, then the master of the house shall be brought unto the judges to see whether he have put his hands unto his neighbor's goods. For all manner of trespass, whether it be for ox or for ass, for sheep, for raiment, or for any manner of lost thing which another challengeth to be his, the cause of both parties shall come before the judges, and whom the judges shall condemn, he shall pay double unto his neighbor. So you see, man, you know, just dealing with the fact that you know, is it not fair? Esau, he's got to pay double. Is it not fair? Because everyone's been able to have their way, do what they want, but for some reason, when it comes to the Israelites, being the Lord's people, all right, retaining or obtaining justice, all right, and so on and so forth, you know, it's a problem. Everyone could be the Israelites except for who the Israelites are supposed to be. Why is that such a problem? It just goes to show you again, man, how you know, those that nation not desired, man. You know, just more proof. You know, hey, we are the people of the Lord. We are the people of this book. And all these nations, they conspire against the Lord's people. They keep us down because they know. These Jakes are the only Negroes that need to grow up, man. You know, the boneheaded Negroes, Hispanics and Native American Indians, man, need to grow up. You know, just I see why the Lord said Jake is just dumb, man. You know, Slaughter's children. Jake is the only ones that don't know. Jake knows a whole lot about nothing, man. Here it is, back in Amos 9 and 14, and I will bring again the captivity of my people of Israel, and they shall build the waste cities and inhabit them, and they shall plant vineyards and drink the wine thereof. They shall also make gardens and eat the fruit of them. And is this not what you want, Jake? Be able to enjoy the fruits of your labor, you know, to live like kings and princesses of Yahweh Shema Shai, to be sons and daughters of Yahweh Shema Shai. Is this not what you want? Aren't you tired? Aren't you Jake's just tired? You know? But Jake, they love being, you know, slaves, man. They you know, they love it here. They love being slaves. You know, Jake doesn't see anything past this. It's some scary shit, man. It's a scary thing to even think about, wanting to stay here. Verse 15, and I will plant them upon their land, and they shall no more be pulled up out of their land, which I have given them, save Yahweh thy power. So you see, man. All right. And this is the throne of David that's getting ready to be established on earth. Order. All right. Kingship. All right. Ruling these nations with a rod of iron. What's wrong with that, man? These nations did it to us in wickedness. Why can't we do it in righteousness? You know, it just goes to show you, man, hey, that nation not desired, man, you know. Jay can't have nothing, like, goddamn. You know, and that mainly comes from our own people. It's like, damn, you know, Jake has that crab in the bucket mentality, man. It's like, damn, can we get anything? Oh, well, y'all got LeBron James, y'all got Jay-Z, man. You don't judge a nation of people off of the few exceptions. All right, you judge your nation by the commonwealth. So you can't judge us as a nation of people based off of the LeBron Jameses and the Jay-Z's. All right, but again, it's just like, don't you want to see all your people good? All your people on the level, all your people perfect and righteous? You see, and that's what we're fighting for, that commonwealth. You know, the nation being on one accord in Yahweh Shema Shai, being on one spirit in Yahweh Shema Shai. That's what we're fighting for. You know, no Israelite is going to look at one, no Israelite is going to look at one another in strife. We're not going to have to teach our neighbor as far as, other Israelites. Jake is going to be all perfect. It's like, damn, isn't that what you want, Jake? Don't you want to see all your people good? Because even niggas like LeBron James, they can't take care of all their people within their immediate family. They can't take care of all their aunties and them, uncles and them, all the cousins and them. Don't you want to take care of all your people, man? Don't you want to see all your people good? And that's the commonwealth that we're fighting for. That's what we're coming back into. All right, that nation-minded nation building. All right, seeing all your people good. Revelation 21. And I'm gonna start at 24. And the nations of them which are saved shall walk in the light of it. Talking about our people that have been scattered amongst these other nations, Israelite foreigners. All right. It says, and the kings of the earth do bring their glory and honor into it, going into the heathens. They'll be bringing their riches and wealth. Our gates are going to be continually open of just resources, man. Stones, spices, and so on and so forth. Because again, we built these nations, made their kingdom great. Hey, why can't these nations build our kingdom up? And that's how it's supposed to be by default, Because kings have servants, kings have handmaids, and so on and so forth. Verse 25, and the gates of it shall not be shut all the day, for there shall be no night there. So every Israelite, like I said, is going to have the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of Yahweh Shema Shai. Is going to be on one accord with Yahweh Shema Shai in the spirit. There's going to be no more rest in peace shirts in the kingdom. No more, Jake getting hit by stray bullets. None of that. There's going to be no more death for Israelites, man. Jake's just going to live forever. That's what when it goes into when it said that for there shall be no night there. You see, Jake is going to be perfect, all righteous. All right, no more death, sicknesses, or anything. Like it tells you in the earlier verses in this chapter, man. The Lord's going to wipe away all tears. No more pain, no more suffering for Israelites. Jake is just going to be all good, all righteous. Isn't that what you want, Jake? All your people are going to be good. So that's what we're fighting for. All right, the commonwealth. This is the bigger picture that's at hand. The curses are being uplifted off of us to be put on our enemies. What's wrong with that? Jake got to get out of this slave mentality, man. To hell with these other nations. They don't give a damn about you. Right? Jeremiah 4. Jeremiah 4 and 30. And when thou art spoiled, what wilt thou do? Though thou clothest thyself with crimson, though thou deckest thee with ornaments of gold, though thou rentest thy face with painting, in vain shalt thou make thyself fair. Thy lovers will despise thee. They will seek thy life. So it's like, you're a woman, right? Here it is. She ain't got to pay no bills. She's taken care of. Right? You do everything for this broad. But here it is. She's going up behind your back while you're at work. Making herself look good, putting on the makeup. Looking good. But it ain't for you. It's for the mother niggas out there, man. That's what we did to the Lord. Decked ourselves out for these other nations. And again, they don't give a damn about you. You Jakes. These nations don't care about you Jakes. You see, they don't care about you. Did all that in vain for nothing. You know, to what profit? Because the Lord asked that. He posed that question. Here it is. Jake is questioning the Lord. Well, what profit it is to serve the Lord? Well, hey, the Lord, the Lord poses a question too. Well, hey, what good came from you serving these other nations? You know, we touched on that this past Saturday. You know, what good, what profit was it for you serving these other nations? And we found out the grass is not greener on the other side. Well, the elect are finding that out. But these nations, they don't give a damn about you Israelites. That's why you got to get out of that slave mentality, man. That crab in a bucket mentality. Jake loves being losers. And here it is, we're fucking kings and princesses of Yahweh Shema Shai. And Jake, man, they want to be fucking losers. They love being losers. They want validation from these less than nothings. The Lord called these nations, they are less than nothing. So their opinions don't mean shit. Here it is, we're what, 3/4 of a man? Esau considers us 3/4 of a man. And we're still better than his ass, man. These nations still can't fuck with us, even our lowest estate. So come on, Jake, wake up. But of course, this is only for the elect, man. So Lord, when this was edifying, giving all praises to you, how about Shema Shai? Shalom to you, hopefully elect.